Hi, this is Joe. Thanks for the inviting. And Tim mentioned CanPass a few times in the talk. And you guys probably don't have idea what is CanPass. So in short, it is a new player in the streaming area. And we really turn Kafka as a very easy to use SQL database.
Yeah, I think I wrote an article and an example program using Time Plus and Pulsar. I think it took me 20 minutes. And I'd never seen your product before.
Yeah,
That's
I guess
really
we
cool.
share a lot
Cool
of similar passion, right? I mean, for example, one of the strengths of NiFi is really the ecosystem and also the easy to use. People don't have to follow like 20-page tutorial to understand what's going on. You just click, and do this intuitively. And Time Plus, we share the same passion. So today, people mainly using Flink or Spark, but it's certainly very powerful and mature, but you still have to learn everything in the first few weeks and set up a fairly big cluster. And in Time Plus, we try to make this much easier. You have a very nice UI using SQL as the primary interface to query everything. And also you can send to different places, including Slack, right? Which is not really a focus of Flink.
How do you do alerts? Maybe that's where your people are for the alerts.
Yeah, for example, to own dog food or drink our own champagne. So in Time Plus, we use Time Plus a lot for sure. So for example, we leverage stuff like Auth0 for our single sign-on and for new user sign-up. So every time when there's a new user sign up on Auth0, Auth0 actually have this webhook. You can configure a link. Tim, you mentioned this idea about whether REST is a streaming. For me, why not? I mean, this is, you can get event by event. And yeah, you get very low latency, right? And if you can really have a nice way to support different webhook, you don't even need to write any code. So in our case, we just configure our endpoint on the Auth0. Whenever someone sign up, then I can get this event pushed to Time Plus. And we have a SQL to understand, like, say, hey, kind of roughly which country it's coming from, and it can send me a Slack. And it also power up our like dashboard. So to me, it's a very nice way to engage with the users, right? So yeah, I mean, data processing is such a big topic, and the streaming sounds very fancy advanced, but actually you can do many interesting things with streaming, and it's not so difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult, even impossible, to have one thing fit for all. And we all in this big data ecosystem, we play our role to make something easier or cheaper or faster. For example, Time Plus, we do have the vision that is, we're not just processing what is happening right now. We also have our own storage. So for example, like you might configure the TTL, the retention policy in Kafka like 7 days. But if you want to query data older, you either have to set a very long retention policy, which maybe make the Kafka more kind of costly.
Yeah.
But you can also say in Time Plus case, we keep getting data from Kafka and store in our own engine. And you can run a query, say, what's the current revenue vs what's the revenue like 3 months ago. We are not really replacing like any kind of OLAP or Snowflake, because we want to make you have more context data about your streaming. That's all. But now we are not really building the other data warehousing. Yeah, I know someone also working on the book Streaming Data Mesh.
Oh yeah.
Even streaming database. The debate is whether you want prefer using like SQL or using Python or Java or other DSL to processing the data, and
API.
Or the API, yes. So in our case, we think even SQL is not the perfect language, but it's a common language. I mean, to some degree, it's even like a promote language for the streaming database, right? I mean, you can describe your requirement fairly clearly using SQL. So of course, there's a lot of kind of a prototype to see whether we can use in natural language to query database or even do streaming. Maybe, but you have to be very precise. Then maybe SQL will be very close to that language. Yeah. As I mentioned, everything is very easy to use. So for example, I run a simple query. I get the rough idea about the result. This is in this mode, it's a running mode. And you get the distribution for each columns. And you can also do stuff like count star. As I mentioned, we don't have to rescan everything. Say the first event is like 102, and next one we get this delta and add it to it. And by doing so, you can build some dashboard very easily. For example, I want to create a chart, and you can add it to the dashboard, right? So this is just a very simple demo to show you that is, if you have data in Kafka, in Kinesis, in REST API, there's a new solution for you to make sense of data without learning a lot of new SDK API or set up your own cluster. You can just using SQL, the language is familiar, and build a very nice dashboard and alerts. You might send this back to Kafka or send back to, say, Snowflake, if you want to prefer using your traditional BI. But for the data,
or Iceberg,
yeah, of course, and the transformation part or the aggregation part actually can be powered by the new version of SQL. Yeah, thank you for the watching.
Awesome. And he did that live. He did it live. Brave man.